Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and I've got something to show you. I actually spent a half an hour recording this before, and I was not recording the camera feed. I'm really kind of new to this, so you've got to bear with me. I'm doing the best I can. This is a little thing I'd like to call CStrip. As you can hear, I got a bass sound, but maybe I'd like to have a slightly bassier bass sound. CStrip is an equalizer, compressor, gate. It's got a delay in there to do timing lag. The flow of it actually goes gate first, then the high pass, then the compressor, then the EQ, then the timing, and then the low pass after that. But we won't talk about that right now. Instead, how about I turn this on? Okay, well there's a start. I think that's a little too much trouble, although I might want to put it back. Now, this might look like a complicated mess of controls here. You can see I'm moving this around, but that's not how you're supposed to look at it. You're supposed to look at it like this. CStrip is designed to work with control surfaces. I've got it worked out so that you've got enough knobs on, say, a cheap nano control like this to handle all of that, plus, say, a fader. You can see the fader moving back here. All you do is assign the controls to the plugin on any given channel strip you're pointing to, and then, as you can see, you can control it using the slider. And what that means is you control it by ear. Let's get things a little more complicated. We've got a hi-hat here, but I don't know, that might not be here. What I'll do is I'll scooch over here. Now, as you can see, I'm controlling the hi-hat's boost. Let's turn this one on. As you can see, I have the gate going on this. Let's turn the gate off for a moment. And while we're at it, I'm not sure that's quite bright enough. So let's crank it up. Not bad, but maybe it would be fun to do an even more ridiculous amount to boost. How about... Now this is a demonstration of pushing the plugin to beyond what it could normally do. You don't necessarily want to have that much high end on a thing. But, and come to think of it, it's actually only responding to the first one. That's new, I haven't tried that before. See, here's two CStrips on one channel, and it's handling the first one and ignoring the second one. Okay, I didn't know Logic would do that, but logically it would only be able to operate on one at once. So that'll just sort of have to do. Sliding out of my ears now. There we go, now I can hear the bass a little bit. Speaking of bass, let's quickly shut that off for a bit. Now we've got some drum kit sounds, and these are maybe not the fullest drum kit sounds you could have. So let's turn this one on. This is a really extreme kick drum setting. Now that sounds a little bit more like a kick drum in a mix. Don't have much going on with this. The comp speed, when you have these set to 0, they turn themselves off. It doesn't even process it, it just passes the data straight through. And that goes for all of these effects. The low pass, the high pass, the compression. If they're at 0, nothing happens. Same with the gate and so on. Slightly bright kick there, so I'll turn that down. Or I could just as easily, since I have it set, turn it down with this. And now the snare sounds a little bit dim. So let's throw that There we go. Now that's all very well and good, but seems as if this doesn't necessarily have the best groove you could possibly have. It feels a little rigid because it's quantized, and I'm not feeling it. So here's what we're gonna do. Let's try adjusting timing. For instance, here's the snare, and I've got the snare selected. You can tell it's selected because if I pull the high off, let's see, I'll dial that in to be more or less how I want it. Now timing is for adjusting things like the internal groove of a thing. That's the maximum timing delay. As you can hear, it's not much of a difference, but if we say, here, how about I start it off by going to drum kit here. I've only got the one CStrip going. And you can tell that's going because I can pull the highs off there. And let's try to feel where the hat sits compared to the kick drum. Scooch it forwards a little bit. Now the kick's a little in front of the hat. Pull the hat up a little bit. Now we'll bring in the snare and do the same thing with it. Maybe it's so loud, I'll pull the gain back. I actually also have outgain, so here's you could either have it with the fader high and the outgain low, or you can do the fader low and the outgain high, which is another type of effect. So you can see that's hitting really high in the fader thing, and then it's pulling that back. But I'll sort of go between them. Maybe throw a little compression on. Yeah, it seems about right. And a little more mid. And now let's play with the timing. Okay, that'll do for now. While I'm at it, we've got this gate. You can start throwing in the gate. That'll tighten things up a little bit. Let's bring the bass back in. Now this guy, it's not coming out as loudly as I'd like, but we can fix that by pushing some of the fader and then also pushing some of the outgain. I'm running a console system, so pushing the outgain will drive the console part harder. That'll also be useful for if you're using bus colors with console. But this is clearly way too in front of the beat, so timing. Now that's not much of a bass playing, but I program plugins. I'm not being hired as a bass player, thankfully. Now that's interesting. If I put the gate this high, you get a clicking on the beginning of it, but there's something we can do about that. Since the low pass goes after everything, the low pass can be used to take the click off the front of the gate, because the low pass will filter the output of the gate, the low pass will filter the compressor. If there are any artifacts happening through the compressor, not that there really are any, the low pass will control those. So that's giving us a nice little attack on there. I'll loosen up the gate a little bit so that now this is not much as far as a mix or anything is concerned. I'm not very pleased with that, but we have one final trick to throw in. Here we have a guitar, right? can hear, I've got control of it with the fader. This is a piezo guitar. So for that reason, it's got a pretty nasty tonality to it. It's the piezoelectric pickup run directly into the board, and you can hear how aggressive the highs are for that. Now, if you wanted to have a little gloss on there, we could try throwing on CStrip, and all that did was just hype out the piezo nature of it. As you can hear, that's really, really obnoxious. So here's what we're going to do. Low pass is our friend. What we do is, because those highs are so irritating, we use the low pass to dial it down without even, we'll maybe take a little bit off of this boost, but without even taking that much of the boost off, start engaging the low pass on the piezo guitar. Pull that grating that's out of there. We'll pull some of the mids out while we're at it. Now that low pass is at 12.9K. We could have it be a little brighter than that. And you know, the lows are also annoying because it's a piezo guitar, so we've got the sort of piezo low end going on there. So the high pass comes into factor here. And I actually had it engaged. This is what it really sounds like. But if we pull that up, maybe we've got a little more compression that we want, so pull that down. The speed can go down a little bit as well. And then I'm thinking output gain really could pull back, because it sounds like we're driving the channel fairly hard, and since I'm using console acts like it's a real channel. So now we've got that sitting somewhere, but what we don't have is we're losing the hat now because that's stomping on it. So what we might do is throw on that extra boost on the hat. And see where we're sitting with that. And of course, I have that delay thing on the guitar. It feels as if, I mean, the timing for the whole thing is pretty wretched, but if I try to find where the guitar sits on that, it's really coming in early, so let's push it a lot later than that. And it's coming a little late. I'd like to fill in some more of the lows. See, I'm not even looking at the output anymore. With no lows on the kick, it's like this, but with the lows on the kick all the way, I'm getting something out of it there. We'll give a little more mid to the kick. Maybe not that much. And how about the low frequency? It's all the way down, so there. And I'm manipulating the low frequency here. See, that's fairly high, so I'll lower it a little bit. And then lastly, let's throw some gate on here. And lastly, the kick is now coming in early, so yeah, there's not that much I can do with this mix because it's not necessarily my job to make this stuff, the music stuff, work. This is just what I threw it together to try to demonstrate how this plugin works. But what I can do is show you where we came with this and where we would be without it. We've got this bizarre little mix going on, but if I take all this stuff out, there's the guitar taken out, there's the bass, and that's what we would have without CStrip. So this is a pretty powerful little channel strip. Maybe that's too bright on the hats there, but it can do some crazy things. And with a bit of luck, you can use it for actually useful things rather than the strange mayhem that I've been causing here. But this does certainly demonstrate the craziness that you can do with this plugin. This is airwindows CStrip. Looks kind of like this, and you're meant to not look at these knobs and controls here. You're meant to run it through some kind of control surface, even one as cheap as this, and be setting all this stuff by ear. Like the way that I was bringing that low mids in on that kick drum is reach for control and do something with it. So airwindows CStrip is my new channel strip plugin. People have been asking for a channel strip for some time. It combines EQ and Buttercomp. Both of those are being discontinued and converging into this one plugin. And as such, people who own EQ or people who own Buttercomp will get a copy of this for free. And it also brings in gating from Digital Black, or I think I'm up to Digital Black 2 at this point. And yep, this is as far as I was able to bring channel strips at the moment. I mean, if I can bring it to CStrip 2 or CStrip 3, then CStrip owners will get this for free as a update, just like EQ owners and Buttercomp owners are getting this as a free update now. For those who don't already own those, or those who don't already own CStrip, it's $50. $50 for all this. And hopefully you can use it more effectively than I am, but that's all well and good, because it's not necessarily my job to do the wonderful mixing. I'm just here to give you the tools to do it yourself. Hope this has been some kind of demonstration of the wild and crazy things that you can do with it. In particular, I think that demonstrating the stuff that I could do with the piezo was pretty significant, because those are a bear to deal with. And if you're talking about a piezo direct guitar that's being treble boosted, that's, well, you heard it, it's a nightmare. And CStrip more or less handled that. It's also really good at trapping in, say, distorted guitars with the high pass and low pass. And generally, you can reach for the bass, middle, treble controls, and all this kind of stuff. You can generally reach for stuff on this and get sounds really fast. Things should just sort of fall into place. I mean, if they didn't fall into place for me, it was because I randomly jammed a bunch of stuff together, and this isn't really a song, and this isn't really a mix. But if you do have a real mix that's been recorded by competent people, then it should be all kinds of useful. And you can spray paint your control surface white and write whatever you want on it, or you can leave it unpainted or put whatever labels you want. But CStrip has a bunch of different controls. You don't even have to assign them all. If there are some that you don't want to assign, then you can simply leave those off of the control strip, and if they are left as default, it won't. Oh, and there's one other thing. Since you can operate these on the control surface and operate several of them at once, I'll demonstrate that. See, you can indeed operate several of these at once. You can also automate them. So you can set the automation to write, and then play everything from gate to compression to high passes to the equalizers to the timing adjustment to compression speed to the fader to the pan, of course, or whatever. You can play with all of these things live, recorded them to automation in a single pass with airwindows CStrip. I hope that will be fun to do. And as I said, airwindows CStrip is $50. Thank you very much, and I hope this is useful to people. Bye-bye.